Hello and welcome back to another episode of Titan Sports. I'm Isabella Lyons.
Hey everyone, I'm Darek Beeman.
What's up, Titan sports fans? I'm Joseph Bianchini.
Hey everybody, I'm Jonathan Mansour. We have a lot to cover today, so let's get the ball rolling.
The 2026 NFL Draft is set to kick off this Thursday, April 23rd in Pittsburgh, and teams around the league will hope to land their next franchise cornerstone. Following his national championship and Heisman Trophy win, Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza has emerged as the heavy favorite to be picked number 1 overall to the Las Vegas Raiders. On the other side of the ball, Ohio State's Arvell Reese and Texas Tech's David Bailey are considered to be the top edge rushers in the class, with no true consensus on who will be taken off the board first. Multiple scouts around the league have touted Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love as the best overall player in the entire class, with potential to be the first running back taken in the top 5 since Saquon Barkley in 2018. The wide receiver position may have the deepest pool, with playmakers such as Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, and Jordan Tyson all carrying potential to become long-term number 1 targets at their respective destinations. Now, guys, I'm very excited for the draft this week. One guy I really want to start off with is Sonny Styles, one of the most athletic guys in this draft class. He has the size and physicality that really matches the Harbaugh system. So after losing Dexter Lawrence, New York has a big hole in their defense, and with now 2 top 10 picks, hypothetically, let's say the Giants go Sonny Styles at 5, Caleb Downs at 10, where I originally had the Bengals taking him. If that were to happen, talk about bouncing back from losing Dexter Lawrence, and you have 2 guys who already played together. This would just totally reshape the defense overnight, and it would be an offensive nightmare for Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Jaden Daniels. However, I do say that if Downs is not available at 10, that they go Jordan Tyson to pair with Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, staying with the Giants, I mean, getting that another top 10 pick is huge. But now, like, that sweepstakes for Jeremiah Love, they're firmly in it. I know they had interest before, but now they can really take that shot at him at pick 5 or 10 if they really want to. But kind of going back to the draft as a whole, this is a very loaded draft class at edge. And you mentioned some names. There's other names to look for as well, like Malachi Lawrence, Akeem Mesidor, Cassius Howell, Kedrick Folk, TJ Parker, all different type of style from the edge position that they can bring. And then I'm really interested to see what happens at the cornerback position, because Monsieur Delane, he seems to be the favorite to be the first corner pick, but it could have easily been Jermon McCoy, who would have been the number 1 corner as if he was just healthy last season, but he's not. And then you have Chris Johnson and D'Angelo Pods, who I think could be sneaky potential first-round picks this year.
I kind of want to talk about the QBs a little bit more. I know we have Fernando Mendoza projected at the number 1 pick, but I feel like we're lacking a lot of them in this class. It's more focused on, like you guys mentioned, linebacker Sonny Styles. So it's very interesting to see, as many teams like the Raiders, the Jets, and the Steelers and Browns are in need of a quarterback. So I'm curious to see what they will pick up later in the draft.
Yeah, last episode I talked about Omar Cooper. You mentioned in your monologue different wide receivers like Jordan Tyson. One other wide receiver I really like, Casey Concepcion, Texas A&M, short area quickness. Like, he's got this short burst. He's really good separating in man coverage. I think mid to late first round, I think he's a wide receiver that could really make an impact. And let's give the big boys some love. Caden Proctor, offensive tackle, Alabama. This dude, 6'6", 352. He is a freak athlete. He is huge. He's a raw prospect. He's going to take some time to develop, but I think in the right situation, he could really become a cornerstone tackle for an NFL organization that chooses to draft him. Some rumors that he might even pop into the top 16 in the draft come Thursday.
Yeah, and then staying on Proctor, he also has that versatility to play guard potentially to start his career, for sure.
For the first time since 2018, Anaheim sports fans have something to cheer for, as their beloved Ducks have clinched a spot in the NHL playoffs. They received some help from the San Jose Sharks, who defeated the Nashville Predators last Monday, ensuring a berth for the Ducks. Their young talent, paired with legendary first-year coach Joel Quenneville, has turned this team around from a 35-37 record last season to a 43-33 this year, with a top 3 finish in the Pacific Division. The Ducks are taking on the Pacific's 2 seed and the Stanley Cup runners-up for the last 2 seasons, the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers won the season series 2-1 over the Ducks, while outscoring them 16-12 in those games. With McDavid and the Oilers poised to make it back to the Stanley Cup, the young Ducks will have an amazing opportunity to play spoiler and make a run at a title of their own. So Game 1 happened last night, and the Oilers, interestingly enough, they have found themselves playing a SoCal team in the first round of the playoffs for the 5th year in a row. The last 4 years they played against the LA Kings. This year they get to play against the Ducks, and As I mentioned earlier, game 1 was last night, and the Ducks, they kind of found something in that second period. They were down early. They then came back and took a lead, but ultimately lost. And the keys to win the series for the Ducks, in my opinion, it's going to be puck control, and you have to limit the Oilers having any power play opportunities.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Another thing the Ducks should worry about here is their penalties. If they draw too many, they could easily face defeat in this playoff run. But like you said, they're a very formidable force. It's the first time in the playoffs since 2018 with Cutter Gauthier, and they could be very difficult to beat here. Along that, they have Leo Carlson. And so, yeah, mainly my main point is they should worry about more penalties this year.
I mean, Ducks fans have been clamoring for this for years now. This is the first time in the playoffs in what seems like forever. You feel the buzz down here. There really is an energy in this city and in Anaheim about the Ducks. But boy, getting the Oilers as your first time back in the playoffs, I mean, it doesn't get harder than that. And you saw this in game 1, right? The Ducks had an amazing second period. It felt like all control was in the game, but the veteran, experienced Oilers team took over, used their home court advantage to really gain some juice and really take over that third period and win. It's going to be a tall task for the Ducks, but that's what you want. You want to play playoff hockey, and these are the teams you got to go through, and that's the task on hand for this young and talented Ducks team.
Yeah, and we really saw the Oilers dominate early on, 14 shots on goal compared to the Ducks 4. And Troy Terry really drove Anaheim's offense, 2 goals, 1 assist, and they were really able to capitalize, like you said, rebound chaos for the Oilers. 2 Ducks goals came from Edmund struggling with the puck, and puck control was a big thing in that game. Leon Draisaitl was able to make an immediate impact off injury with 2 assists. So looking ahead, Anaheim is now kind of in a must-adjust situation to avoid back-to-back losses in this series. Game 1s are kind of tests to see what's going to happen for the rest of the series. So we'll see if this is going to be a trend or if it was luck.
Yeah, if you're the Ducks, you cannot over-panic over losing game 1, especially because it's your first playoff game in, a while. But the LA Kings, they had a game 1 against the Colorado Avalanche, the President Trophy winners, and they lost. But Darek, I know you have some updates on another playoff team in LA.
Yes, we do. The Los Angeles Lakers defeated the Houston Rockets 107-98 in the opener of their first-round playoff series on Saturday night. The Lakers gradually took control of the game in the first quarter and maintained a steady lead for most of the game. Josh Okogie scored the first points of the game for the Rockets, but the Lakers responded quickly and never let the game slip away. DeAndre Ayton actually played like dominating in this one, scoring the first Laker bucket of the night en route to a 19-point and 11-rebound double-double. Luke Kennard scored the career playoff high with 27 points, while number 23 and 23 added 19 points and a game-high 13 assists. Despite missing Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves due to injury, the Lakers controlled the court with over 60% shooting while holding the Rockets to 40% shooting. This disparity allowed the Lakers to win despite shooting just 66 total shots, the fewest in the NBA game in the past 3 seasons. Game 2 will be on tonight at 7:30 p.m. back in Los Angeles. Now, I feel like this is a very good point for the Lakers to be at. The Rockets were missing key players like Kevin Durant, and so players like Amen Thompson here really stepped up to provide on the defensive end side of things. Along that with Terry Easton, who shot 100% from the field this game, actually. So I really feel like their shooting point deficit was really the issue that caused them to play this way.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to happen when you don't have Kevin Durant in the lineup, right? That was the reason they went and made a move to get him, was to help this team spacing. That was an issue against the Warriors last playoffs, was this team spacing, and I thought it was apparent in this game. But for the Lakers, it's one word: survive, 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 right? We don't know. The injury timelines with Luka are very vague. It sounds like Reeves, there's a better chance they get him back if this season goes late. So if you can just claw your way through games, make it tough on Houston, take advantage of the games that KD is out or KD is even hobbled if he does come back for game 2 or other games in this series. Just survive, survive, survive until you get Luka and Reeves back, if that's possible. Because if you do get those guys back, we saw the basketball they were playing down the stretch with those 2 guys, LeBron and the other weapons they have, especially if Luke Kennard plays this way, and the other role players. Like, the Lakers could be serious threats. You just have to survive this series early in these games.
Yeah, and I mean, we really saw LeBron. He was giving some other players shots early on, really finding their rhythm early on. And there were some moments where he didn't even have help, and he did a really good job at backing defenders up and just over to the basket and overpowering them. Of course, Luke Kennard had quite the game, 27 points, 5 threes. That's a career playoff high. And it was great for everybody. All the starting 5 got scoring in the double digits. Now, again, with Kevin Durant out, that did help. So we'll see how the Lakers do if he's back in tonight. But the Rockets are really playing for their season at this point. They're in a similar situation to the Ducks. You don't want to go down 0-2 at this point.
Yeah, quickly to add on, Luke Kennard, 1 playoff game with the Lakers, has 27 points. The guy they traded him for, Gabe Vincent, in 10 Laker career playoff games, That guy only had 21 total points. So immediately, a massive upgrade. He has to be extended at the end of the season. And then you guys mentioned DeAndre Ayton. He was dominant, like literally dominating, as you said. If they're going to get that type of play from him, this series is going to be going in the Lakers' direction. And especially if you guys mentioned it, Kevin Durant, his status for tonight is still unknown. And as we saw in Game 1, there is no true scoring threat without him. You know, no Rocket players scored over 20 points. So if KD is out tonight, and let's just say the Lakers win Game 2 or Game 3, I think that is the series. I think it would be over because I truly anticipate Luka Doncic will be back by Game 5, in my opinion, latest Game 6, and I don't think the Lakers will lose with Luka back.
Yeah, definitely. I really feel like this game could go 7 games. But talking to another basketball team, you had something to say about the Warriors.
From Southern California to the Bay, Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Steve Kerr have given the rest of the NBA nightmares for over a decade now. However, after their elimination from the play-in tournament last week, the Warriors' run of terror is in jeopardy of being over for good. After pulling away from the Clippers late in the first game, the Warriors were outmatched by the Phoenix Suns in their second play-in game, losing 96-111. Possibly the biggest moment to come from this game, though, was Steve Kerr pulling in Curry and Green for a long embrace after they checked out of the game. Along with Klay Thompson, who is no longer a Warrior, this trio has won 4 rings in its 12 years together. But with Kerr struggling to lead this Warrior team in recent seasons and his contract expiring at the end of this season, Kerr's embrace begs the question, have we seen the end of this trio in Golden State? Look, as long as I've been watching basketball, and you guys as well, it's been this Warriors dynasty. It has terrorized the NBA for years and years. And right when we thought it was over, then they pulled out another ring in 2022, really got kind of that final squeeze out of Curry and that core of players now. But it just feels like these last couple of years, playing tournaments, early playoff exits, right? It just feels like this has been the beginning of the end. And now it appears Steve Kerr might not be back with the Warriors come the rest of these following years, which is a weird thing because he's been such a mainstay in Golden State. He brought them 4 rings, but I think it's truly the beginning of the end of the dynasty.
Honestly, I don't really think this is the beginning of the end here as, well, with new direction, with a new head coach, this could really be a new era for the Warriors. They still have Jimmy Butler and Curry on contract. They have a lottery draft pick and trade value for next year. And along with that, they could re-sign Porzingis and might be able to slide Yazel Lundenberg in the draft. Now, this may be a stretch, maybe a little bit of wishful thinking here, but if they could snag Kawhi Leonard with what they have going on and get a solid coach in the future, they could definitely make some noise in this league here.
Yeah, kind of going back to the whole, is Kerr done in Golden State? I think he is. And it's kind of shocking because Draymond Green even came out on his podcast and said he thinks that Steve Kerr is going to be out as coach, which is kind of crazy because in my opinion, I think the Warriors have just been unlucky. I don't think bad coaching has been their suffering. Curry last year in round 2 of the playoffs, he gets hurt after they won Game 1 against the Timberwolves. They probably would have won that series. Who knows if he's healthy, but he gets hurt. They go on to lose. Then Jimmy Butler, he tears his ACL this year. The Kristaps Porzingis trade just did not work out for the Warriors. So I really think that coaching has not been the problem. It's just been unlucky. But hey, maybe a change of head coach, a change of scenery in that locker room, a change of voice could be the answer to them riding the ship and maybe keeping the dynasty alive.
Yeah, 4 championships, 6 finals appearances, and one of the greatest seasons of NBA history. I mean, this all comes from the Warriors. With Steve Kerr's contract ending, like you said, and Steph and Draymond's future is unclear. It's sad, but if you think about it, Draymond was a polarizing player, controversial at times, but he was the league's best defender. And we got to watch an undersized guard completely change the way basketball was played and become one of the greatest shooters of all time. So, of course, Steph couldn't have done this without Klay Thompson with 37 points in a quarter, 10 dribbles. And you have to give props to KD, even though he was only there for a few years, coming in and being able to win back-to-back finals MVPs. But it was nice to experience basketball history.
Yeah, you talked about Draymond being polarizing. I think this whole dynasty's been polarizing. There's so many moments, even though they won 4 rings, there's so many moments where they might not have, right? We all remember Zaza Pachulia injuring Kawhi Leonard. Everyone thought the Spurs were going to win that series. The very next year, Chris Paul gets hurt in the Western Conference Finals. Everyone thought the Rockets were going to win that series. This has been a dynasty full of controversy, full of what-ifs, but at the end of the day, like you said, Izzy, they changed the game. They changed the way basketball is being played, and you can appreciate them for that. All right, staying with the association, we are now at least through the first games of the first round of the NBA playoffs. Through just some of the action that we've seen, it's clear that some teams are ready to compete while others just look like they're ready for Cancun. So with that being said, let's get into our Timeout Talk segment for the week. I'm going to list you guys 4 teams in the NBA playoffs, and you're going to tell me, is this team a contender or is this team a pretender? And let's start in the West. Let's go Denver Nuggets, contender or pretender?
I'm gonna have to go contender on this one. The Jokic leads the league in boards and assists, and that shows their offensive capability here. Along with that, he has good help with Jamal Murray. He's averaging career highs this season, and one thing they should look out for is definitely their defense. I feel like that's the weakest part of their overall game. Their opponents ranked average of 49.6% from the field, which is dang near 50%. So I feel like if they can't stop the other team is definitely going to outscore them.
Yeah, I'm going to also agree contender for the Denver Nuggets because when healthy, they just cannot be stopped offensively. They led the regular season in points per game, and they have a top 3 player in the league with a really good and deep supporting cast. That is a recipe for success. And I know, look, they lost yesterday in game 2 against the Timberwolves, but the Timberwolves, they are a good team. And just like how we highlighted last week during the show, the Timberwolves and Nuggets series is probably going to be the best one in the first round. So we shouldn't be shocked or surprised or writing off the Nuggets just because they lost one game. I still got the Nuggets in 7 games.
I'm also going to say contender. They're 54-28 on the season, most points per game in the league at 112, second highest field goal percentage. Their defense is their weak spot. They allow 117 points per game. They mostly rely on drop coverage and don't switch things up, so opponents are really able to capitalize off of that predictability.
Yeah, I'm going to say contender, but now after game 2, there's a little bit of like a red exclamation point next to that contender, right? Just because I think Minnesota matches up with them so well. Minnesota's a team that's beat them in previous playoffs. So I really think this is a litmus test for the Nuggets in this first round. Last year, they gave OKC a run for their money. They took OKC to 7 games. Obviously, they went on to win the championship. If this Nuggets team can get past a Minnesota team that previous iterations of this roster struggled to beat in the playoffs, then I think now, okay, we see this Nuggets team is better. They built better this offseason around Murray and Jokic. Murray, one of the best playoff performers in the entire association. So I think contender, but this Timberwolves series is really going to prove if that's right or wrong. Next team, let's go to the East for a second. Detroit Pistons, the 1 seed in the East, but they lost game 1 against Orlando. Contender or pretender?
It pains me to say this because I really like the Detroit Pistons. They're a really fun team to watch. They're young, they're gritty, but I have to go with pretender because there's no shot creator other than Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham, he had 36 points in game 1. No one came near him as a second option. I think they only had one other player in Tobias Harris that scored double-digit figures. It's just a bunch of good players surrounding Cade, but no really great second option. I feel like that is what you need in the playoffs. Like we just mentioned the Nuggets. You mentioned it. Jamal Murray is that second option and a dang good one at that. And then, you know, I get it. Jalen Duren, he's been playing this year like an all-NBA player, but man, did he struggle in game 1. And those struggles was what we saw basically last year in the playoffs as well. So I'm going to have to go pretender here.
I see where you're coming from because I definitely agree on the fact that Cade had no help. Tobias Harris only had about 17 points. Only other player on the team to score double digits. But I feel like I'm going to go contender here. We've seen this before. There's been young teams in the playoffs like OKC who have had some success. So I feel like for just that sole reason, I feel like we shouldn't mark them down as for what they are yet.
I'm going to agree with Jonathan on this one and go pretenders, but I do think that they have the chance to be contenders. They're prone to scoring droughts and poor spacing. They're strong at forcing turnovers and play passing lanes, but this kind of leads to fouls, over rotation, open threes if they miss the read. Their core is young, like you said, but of course you just really only have Cade Cunningham, who, you know, he can score, he can play make, he can control the tempo of a game, almost 24 points per game.
I'm going to say contender. I don't want to overthink this. This is a really young team. Having some early playoff jitters, I think, is to be expected. And I do believe that Cade Cunningham is the caliber of a player that can elevate a team. When the others aren't playing good, he can elevate a team to wins. It didn't come to fruition in game 1. I think it'll come to fruition the rest of the series. Next, let's go back to the West for a second. The San Antonio Spurs, and I'm going to start with this. I was told we need more hot takes on this show. I think the San Antonio Spurs are the contender. I think these are my finals favorites right now. Wembanyama is fresh off a unanimous Defensive Player of the Year award. That's the first time that's ever happened in NBA history. They have such an arsenal of weapons around Wemby, including Fox. I really like the early aggressive minutes from Vassell and Castle in their first playoff games, and I really think what makes this team so special is defensively the versatility. They can switch everything. They'll run Wemby at the 5 and 4 guards around him and just switch everything, and then Wemby being the freak that he is, he can switch everything as well. This team is the contender in my eyes. I think they're capable of beating OKC, and I think they're capable of winning an NBA Finals.
I definitely don't have anything to disagree with that. They have a bunch of guards in the perimeter who could guard the perimeter, and then they have Wemby, who's lengthy in the paint, who's able to really just defend the rim. And so I really don't have anything to oppose to that. I agree, they're definitely contenders.
Yeah, I also think they're contenders. They have a two-way identity. They have ball movement, spacing, multiple players who can contribute. Of course, Wemby, 26 points per game, 12 rebounds, 3 to 4 blocks. He has elite rim protection, guards multiple positions, and again, lets perimeter defenders play more aggressive.
When I think of the word contenders, I think about the two best teams in a conference. The Thunder in the Western Conference and the Denver Nuggets. It's not the Spurs. I have them as a pretender. I know that might be shocking, but I generally think that they lucked out with the Blazers as a first-round opponent. Yes, both teams are inexperienced when it comes to the playoffs, but talent of San Antonio is just greater, and that's going to help you in a best-of-7 series. I think the time for the Spurs is coming, but it is not right now. I just don't see it. I can easily be proven wrong because you guys mentioned this is a really good team. Victor Wembanyama, first unanimous Defensive Player of the Year. And they have a really good supporting cast, but I just don't see it this season. I can definitely see it next year, and they could definitely prove me wrong this year, but I don't see it quite yet.
Very fair. That's what makes these playoffs so intriguing is the different young teams with the lack of playoff experience. But one team that has been in the playoffs for the past couple of years, new head coach, the New York Knicks, going back to the East for one final team. Contender or pretender?
I'm going with pretender here. I mean, like, they've been in here for a long time. They're not making anything happen. Mikal Bridges, he's not making it work for them. Same thing with Jalen Brunson. He's shot like 22% from 3. I mean, it's really not. I can't see it happening anytime soon, realistically, especially with this time frame that they've been having recently.
I'm going with contender because it's if not now, then when for the New York Knicks. Their kryptonite, the Indiana Pacers, who eliminated them the past 2 years, they're not in the playoffs. So you have no more excuses. Go, make that run. You guys didn't hang an NBA playing banner because you had your sights on an NBA championship banner. So go get it. Karl-Anthony Towns, he is playing like his last year's self, which ascends this roster to a whole other level. I firmly believe that. He's been really good offensively in the 2 games so far. I get it. They had a meltdown in the 4th quarter yesterday. But the talent of the Knicks should be able to beat the Hawks, and their experience should allow them to win this series. And like I said, for the Nuggets, you don't write someone off just because they lost 1 game. Not every series is going to be a sweep, especially if you're a favorite. You're going to have a game or 2 that you slip. It's fine. They're still going to be a contender. In the East, it's between them and the Celtics, going back to my top 2 teams are contenders point.
Contenders, they're not really a team that opponents look forward to playing against, but they're also not really someone that you take to win it all. Jalen Brunson is a legit #1 option for them. He's a clutch scorer, elite in half court, and thrives in playoff style basketball. And those are the type of guys you need right now to win tough games. They're definitely a top team offensive rebounding with those second chance points and tend to win possession battles.
Yeah, Jonathan, you said it. You can't count one team out after 1 loss in a playoff series, but I'm going to. I think this team is a pretender, and the reason why is the way they lost in Game 2 against Atlanta. We've seen this same story with these Knicks teams year in and year out in the playoffs, where they are controlling these games and then they let it slip away in the 4th quarter. I don't think that was uniquely a Pacers thing. I think that's uniquely a Knicks thing. OG Anunoby, he's got a hobbled ankle right now. He unlocks their defense. If he's hobbled or hurt the rest of the series, and if they continue to let these games dwindle away like it has playoffs after playoffs for this team, I'm not buying it. It's a pretender. I like them getting the new head coach. I like them getting rid of Thibodeau to Mike Brown, more sustainable brand of basketball in the playoffs, but I'm just not buying it. I've seen this story before. Pretender.
All right, that about wraps everything up. Thank you for tuning in. Please give us a follow on Instagram and X at TitanTV CSUF and on TikTok at TitanTV_CSUF. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we now look forward to seeing you on the next episode of
Titan Sports.